So I'm just going to rip through what has been a pretty massive 3 years since the bushfires, and just talking about mainly the NGO response to the Black Summer bushfires with a focus on the Kangaroo Island Dunnart. There it is. So just want to acknowledge the various organisations, Terrain Ecology, AWC and KO Land for Wildlife, and some awesome collaborators who have made it all happen. So a little bit of background. This all started out with the Kangaroo Island Land for Wildlife program. It's a very small NGO working in the biodiversity hotspot of Western Kangaroo Island, where there's a whole host of endemic EPBC listed species, including the KI Dunnart. Excuse me. The program works exclusively on private land and building the capacity of private landholders to manage their land and the threatened species that live within it. And this program has been monitoring Kangaroo Island Dunnarts since 2017. So pre and post bushfire, this program focused on three main areas: the Western River Management Zone, Church Road Management Zone, and also the large Northwest Conservation Alliance. So these were the areas that we were working before the fires, and also really increased our work during and after these fires. So, as Paul mentioned before, the Black Summer bushfires of 2019-2020 were particularly catastrophic for Kangaroo Island and burnt over 96% of the known and predicted range of the Dunnarts. And you can just see there some of the impacts that we saw. Burnt cameras, nice little video there of the fire coming through. So after the fires, we were able to get back within the fire zone very quickly, within a couple of days. And start to assess the damage for our equipment and just get a bit of an idea of the impacts that the fires had. In particular, we were looking for small unburnt patches of vegetation that we suspected threatened species could survive within. Within 2 days of the fire passing, we were able to get into the Western River Management Zone, and we found this very small patch of vegetation. You can just see the contrasting image there. With the unburnt vegetation up against the blackened fire scar. We were able within 2 days of the fire, once we found this little location, we were putting up camera traps and little driftline fences to see what species had survived. It's important to note at this point we really had no idea what the impacts was going to be, because this fire was massive. It was all consuming of the western end. And there were, as Paul mentioned, really big concerns for the welfare of the population of Dunnarts that only live on the western end of the island. So it was great. Within about a week of the fires passing through, that we got the first image of the Kangaroo Island Dunnarts, so we knew that they had survived, which was great. Not only Dunnarts, but we got a whole variety of other species. There's the listed western whipbird and also the endangered southern brown bandicoot there. So we knew that these animals had survived, which was great. But what we were also seeing was very quickly, once again, within days of the fire, that the feral cats had also survived. Not only had they survived, they were re-invading, moving across that fire zone and finding these little patches as well. Within these patches also there was intense competition for food for the native species, and this intense predation pressure, not only from feral cats but from native predators like goannas and tiger snakes. They were all like little war zones. And we saw that the cats, I'm going to skip through this a bit quicker, sorry. So within days we were able to put out cage traps. Felix, the grooming traps within the fire had a lot of success really quickly, but we were seeing rapid reinvasion. So pretty much as soon as we took out a cat, there was another one moving in, or another two, or another three. So we knew that we really needed to do something a little bit more effective. So we were lucky that we had a conservation action plan which had already identified a whole lot of different management actions for the species, and we had already negotiated with Australian Wildlife Conservancy to construct a feral-proof fence around the Western River Refuge, which was actually where we had found these Dunnarts. So we were able to fast-track the construction of that fence with AWC, and within about 6 weeks of the fire, we had managed to build stage one, which was a critical refuge, and had that population of Dunarts secure. We could all kind of sleep at night knowing that we at least had some Dunarts safe within there and that the cats weren't going to get in. And we followed this up with a much larger fence the following 6 months after the fire. And that's just the refuge there. It is a fairly small fence, but we are, focused on, small mammals that have got small home ranges. So it's certainly seemingly pretty effective at this stage. So we were really thankful to have a whole lot of other NGOs support us within days and within weeks of the fire. Great support from AWC, who were able to deploy a whole lot of field ecologists from across the country to help us on ground. Also, feral animal control officers, cage traps, a whole lot of stuff, and a whole lot of other organisations helped out there as well. So what we saw was that Kangaroo Island after the fires, that we did have literally a very big feral cat problem. That cat there is disgusting, but so it's important to point out that cat is not a domestic cat that lives in a really remote area on the south coast of Kangaroo Island. And so we're doing a lot of work with the stomach contents of these cats that we were removing, and we were able to find a pretty shocking statistic there, that we actually found that from the first lot of about 80 cats that we had sampled, that we found 8.1% of these cats were actually consuming KI Dunarts, which was pretty astounding. I'm just going to skip through this because I'm way over time, but we use a whole host of different techniques in addition to the exclusion fencing. So we use elevated leg hold traps. The moral of the story, cats and fire is bad. The fence is working, and all of these things combined will allow us to continue the work. Mostly, we'll just forget about it. So we're just going to continue the work that we're doing with the project collaborators, working mainly in those three main management zones until we can hopefully get to a point where we can hopefully eradicate cats off the whole of the island, but we really can't afford to relax and not do the work on the western end of the island as well, in addition to the eradication work which is going on the Dudley. That's basically it. Thank you.